Australian crew from Banks Rowing Club. On the, well, not on the right really, is it? Top of your picture.
Banks Rowing Club. They do like a bit of a row at Henley. They won. Oh, let's see if my memory serves me well. They won the Britannia Challenge Cup at Henley Royal in 2011. Someone can call me out on that if I am wrong. But that's at the men's event. At the women's event, I haven't seen so much of them, but it's good to see them back across and making the trip from Australia. And that is dedication to the cause of Henley Women's Regatta, and it's fantastic to see such an international draw to what is a spectacular event. And I suppose they feel right at home in the weather we've got today, scorching temperatures and perfectly still water. I imagine the lakes of Carapiro are massively similar to this. But it's Banks Rowing Club of Australia who will be coming up against Lee Rowing Club in our premier pairs event, elite pairs, and the crews are forward, pretty much ready to go, and I'm sure the umpire has just set them off. They've left the stake boats together. Let's see if they can behave themselves and stay on their stations. We've seen a few deviant pairs already this morning who seem to be doing their own thing and not adhering to the rules and regulations that govern Henley Women's Regatta, but at the moment both crews sticking to their stations rather well. Although Lee need to watch their steering. They've had a bit of a nightmare there.
And you jinxed them as
yeah,
usual.
I'm talking absolute rubbish. Nothing changes.
Fortunately, they went over while they were still in the buoyed area, not in the boomed area. I mean, I think this is why it is buoyed at this point to give them a bit of leeway. They went over, they managed to get back before they were in the boom, so if they hit anything, it's not too disastrous. Lee went off there 33, 34, high rate, but cost them in terms of their steering.
I think I've just found out why Banks have come across. Both of those girls were in the Women's 8, the Australian Women's 8 at Rio this year, so Olympic representation here at Henley Women's Regatta. So they are going to be one hell of a crew to try and beat.
We've got a bit of inside knowledge here in the tent that was helping us out a little bit. And I mean, look at them. You know, in terms of the stature of those girls and the way they're rowing,
exceptionally well.
They've got, it's just that fantastic rower's shape. That's kind of similar to, when you look that backside on, kind of looking like in terms of the almost a swimming shape. You really well triangular that I used to have in my back. But the strength really is in the lat muscles. A lot of people, when they don't know rowing, they assume that it's in your shoulders and your biceps, and you shouldn't be really using your arms. You're pushing with your legs, you're pushing with your back, and then you're finishing the stroke with those triangular lat muscles, keeping it as low as possible. And you can just see how low their shoulders are, how relaxed that is.
This is dominance personified, isn't it, from Banks? Look at that.
And they've got the steering sorted.
Down to a T.
Very nice.
You'd expect that from top-end crews like, for instance, these two girls, they are Olympians. You'd expect them to be able to control their boat as it came down the course. And indeed, they're not exactly under any undue pressure from Lee. You probably need to watch their own steering as they come past our commentary position. They are very close to the booms.
Lee, a very popular club, East of London club. Kind of a little bit isolated out there. They kind of form their own, they've got their own kind of culture going on there. It's really popular and have a lot going on there. Very competitive whenever they put crews out. But they will have known, it's just tough for them to get matched in that race today.
Well, I think that race is pretty much already done and dusted.
I was just enjoying watching that pair,
absolutely.
But now we're back up to the next
rightly
one.
So, and I think race 1, 3, 4 is underway. Another heat of the elite pairs, Marlow Rowing Club, Molesey Boat Club Composite on the Berkshire station, and Oxford City on the Buckinghamshire station. Oxford on the left-hand side of your screen at the moment, and the Composite on the right. And I think I'm going to hazard a guess, just from looking at the bow girl of the Oxford crew, that I think Marlow Molesey Composite have had the better of the opening exchanges here. If you look at the left-hand blade of the Marlow crew and the right-hand blade of the Oxford crew, you can see that the Marlow blade is striking the water some way ahead of the Oxford blade, and the Composite are now being warned for their steering. I don't think it's quite early enough to be coming across into the middle of the river, and they are correcting it and moving back towards their station. But there, Alison, you can see, that's already a length, isn't it?
Yeah, so we've got Emma Duncan and Charlotte Fennell in that boat from the Marlow Molesey. You can see the kind of magenta red colour of the Marlow colours and the black of black and white of Molesey Rowing Club.
They're just giving you that.
Another very competent looking pair. So this is our elite pairs for the Redgrave Challenge Vase, sponsored by Sir Steve and Lady Anne Redgrave. Of course, Sir Steve Redgrave initially making his name very well, not initially, but so famous in many of his pairs races. And
With a certain Sir Matthew Pinson, I think I remember it.
I think so, yes.
Well, although these girls might not be able to match the pedigree of Sir Matt and Sir Steve, they certainly are putting on a good show here at the Henley Women's Regatta, and I think it is the composite of Marlow and Molesey, who are around a length and a half up on their opponents from Oxford City. I think if you put a composite together, Alison, you're expecting it to go fast, aren't you? The purpose of putting a composite together, to me, is so that you go and win an event. Because why would you go to that effort? Why would you combine two athletes from two different clubs at an event such as this when you could row with your crewmates?
I mean, it always makes things a bit more, if you are living in those locations, it makes things more difficult for travelling and training. But I mean, sometimes it's that people have moved and they just stay very, very loyal to their clubs, and they're actually training together at a different place. But they, people tend to stay loyal and want to represent their crews, their own clubs at Henley. So we've got Emma Duncan and Charlotte Fennell in the Marlow Mosey boat, and Stacey Crocker and Caitlin Barry in the City of Oxford boat. And up at the start.
You want to stop talking if you get
Am I coming with you? Yeah. Okay. Who have we got before we get back on? We've got this. OUB, WBC and Surbiton High
So
School.
race 135 on the course. It's Oxford University Women's Boat Club on the Berkshire Station and Surbiton High School on the Buckinghamshire Station, and so far it is the distinctive dark blue kit of Oxford University Boat Club who are leading this race. Interesting to see Surbiton High School in the elite pairs event. They must fancy themselves as pretty handy oarswomen, because you would expect them to see in a junior or maybe even a senior pairs event, but to see a high school crew in the elite pairs coming up against Oxford University with such pedigree, they must fancy themselves as pretty quick, but they've clearly come up against superior opposition this morning, or this afternoon even. I think it is now 25 past 12 here at Henley Women's Regatta. And if you are tuning in, if you are listening across the airwaves on YouTube or on the official Henley Women's Regatta website, welcome. We've got the full programme of racing here on day 2 of Henley Women's Regatta. It's the Saturday, it is glorious conditions, and we've got a fantastic bill of competitive sport for you, stretching on pretty much until 6 o'clock this evening. But as it stands, we've got Oxford University leading Surbiton High School in this third heat of the elite women's pairs.
A little bit of inside information on this Surbiton High School boat. It's always useful when we have someone nip up and give us a bit of wisdom in the area. Apparently, they wanted to enter the lightweight event, but they weren't allowed to because they're a high school. So they were put into the elite.
Ah, I see.
So that might be
Makes
a little
sense.
bit, sort of a little bit of an explanation,
Yeah.
but still. I mean, if there aren't junior pairs for them to enter, so they've got this pair, and they've come come up against OUW, the kind of might of OUWBC here.
I think it'd be interesting to see if either of these girls in the Oxford crew raced in the Blue Boat or indeed in Osiris during the boat race series. Obviously, the Blue Boat were convincingly beaten by Cambridge in the boat race in April, but I think Osiris were winners.
We've got Isabel Dodds and Rebecca de Wharton.
Yes, they were both in the Blue Boat
In the
this
Blue
year.
Boat, yeah.
Rebecca's from South Africa, and Isabel Dodds is ex-Kingston Grammar School. So two
yeah.
established athletes. But if we move back up the course, race 136, the last of the elite pairs, and it's Bremer Rowing Club from Germany. Excuse my pronunciation on that if that is wrong. On the Berkshire Station, and Imperial College, another of those stalwarts of the student rowing scene. Imperial College on the Buckinghamshire Station, so Imperial on the left-hand side of your screen, and Bremer from Germany on the right. And just about Imperial have maybe got the better of the two starts there.
Yep, I was wondering whether it's Bremer or Bremer.
Probably Bremer, actually. Thinking
Yeah,
about
I think it might be. We'll get caught up on it. Somebody will tell us.
it. Sure, I'll get caught martial.
So it's Imperial College ahead by the end of the island, increasing now with every stroke. So this Bremer University pair have come over because they're qualified for the European University Championships in Serbia later in July for Bremen University. So for them, Henley Women's Regatta is part of their preparation to let them know what it looks like. They might only get this one race in preparation today. It's always a bit of a gamble, the luck of the draw, who you get tied with. I noticed that I actually commented on Bremer. They brought over this German club. They've also brought over a Coxless 4. The Coxless 4 went out yesterday. So this would be if the pair went out as well, because we love to see. I mean, we love to see our international crews coming over here to Women's Henley, and we hope they have a fantastic weekend, and they've had fantastic preparation anyway. But it's a bit of a shame if they brought 6 athletes and they all go out in the first round.
A massive shame.
But you can't deny
you
the
are
class
right.
of the class of the. I mean, if you get put against an IC boat in elite pairs, you better be elite.
Yeah, you're coming up against stiff opposition, and you are right. Unfortunately, it is the luck of the draw. And if you are drawn against superior opposition, as Bremer clearly have been this afternoon, unfortunately, there's nothing really you can do about it. And certainly, I see Imperial College look to be the stronger of the two crews. They've established a convincing margin now. That's 2 or 3, maybe even 4 lengths of clear water over their opponents from Germany. And I think, barring any late changes, or late disasters, in fact, it will indeed be Imperial College who progressed through to what I believe to be the semi-finals of the elite pairs, which will probably happen later on this afternoon.